Dear viewer, welcome to the show, the United States of Europe. With this week's guest from the next web, Boris Veldhuizen van Zanten. Yay! Presented as every week by me, Greg Shapiro, the American Netherlander. Yes, here we are. That's me, Greg Shapiro. And you know what? We are giving this week the hashtag for you again, GSUSE. Use the hashtag if you want to search for United States of Europe, or if you want to, please give us feedback. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let us know on Facebook if you're watching. Twitter, that's what the hashtag is for. Here we are with the United States of Europe, making fun of Europe just like anybody else. And I'll even add a new tagline in here. I seriously think that the best way for Jean-Claude Juncker and the European Commission to get the credit they deserve is to be subjected to daily ridicule. Yeah, it works in America. So we have a guest here today. It is Boris from the Next Web. Hiya. You're celebrating a big birthday coming up.
I know. Yeah, 10 years edition, the 10th edition of our event.
Yeah,
so that's pretty. That's a high bar you're setting, right?
I know. 10 years of the Next Web conference is coming up in April. Right?
April. Yeah.
2 days.
2 days, end of April, in the Westergasfabriek terrein.
In Amsterdam.
Repeat after me.
Yeah. Westergasfabriek in Amsterdam. Brilliant. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. Will you hang around for the news?
I will.
Okay, good. Let's check in with the news for this week. And as the deadline approaches for the next installment of Greece's loan repayment, Greek politicians again indicated that they may be forced, if the EU doesn't budge, to turn to other sources such as China or Russia. But the Greeks swore they would never resort to taking money from the source known as the Greek taxpayers, who are supposed to actually pay their taxes. European Union officials stressed the need for further reform in Greece, saying that the Greek political system is corrupt and that there is a culture of avoiding paying taxes. Meanwhile, when some pointed out that the current EU Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker wrote Luxembourg's rules that allow Apple, Starbucks, and Fiat to pay little or no taxes, Juncker replied, "No, that's totally different. The difference is that Alex Tsipras is fairly new in his position, so in theory, it should take him a little while to become as corrupt in tax avoidance as, say, a lifelong politician."
30-year experience in corruption. They have everything, systematized. They know exactly how to do it. And these are new guys. Even if they decide to do corruption, it will take them some years. So these are good years for Greece,
Nice. In fact, if the Eurozone wants Tsipras to make good on his financial commitments, then maybe, as a gesture of good faith, the EU could could make some of the multinationals honor their tax commitments. Or else, just to be fair, Apple, Fiat, and Starbucks might have to consider relocating to Greece, where the taxes will be really low. In response to such a potential Greek threat, the Netherlands and Ireland said we would never stoop so low. And then they stooped even lower with their corporate tax rates, again for a bigger double Irish and another Dutch sandwich. Other non-Eurozone countries insisted that Greece should continue on the path of austerity. The United Kingdom said that their economy had improved after austerity, specifically after ending their austerity. The UK then celebrated by opening up tax-free HSBC bank accounts in Switzerland for their largest clients. Some of HSBC's largest clients are indeed some of Greece's biggest oligarchs, causing Alex Tsipras to ask, when might Britain help these tax dodgers pay their Greek taxes? Britain responded, the same day that we returned the Elgin marbles from the British Museum to the Parthenon. And as our guest is in tech news, let's turn to tech news as Vodafone attempts to acquire cable provider Liberty Global. EU regulators have warned that some mergers may be too ambitious. If they let that merger go through, then there's nothing to stop, say, a Czech automotive company from taking over Vodafone, the British telecom provider, and calling it Skoda Phone. And now, it's time for a little piece that I call American Travelogue. Yes, I was in the US for business for 2 whole days, and the culture shock was intense. To be fair, it was my fault. I didn't have my US passport, and I had to fly on my Dutch passport, thereby traveling to the United States for the first time as a foreign citizen. I had to wait in the separate line. I had to do the put your finger on the scanner, look into the camera, do not blink, do not smile, have a nice day. I had to fill in an ESTA form to declare that I was not planning any acts of terror, nor any acts of espionage, nor planning to release any endangered snails into any areas near livestock. My taxi driver was a lovely man who explained to me how Obama is ruining this country by allowing so many Muslims to live here. Let them choose liberty or get the F out, he said. And he concluded, I'll never forget, I just want us to go to war with the world. I didn't give him a tip. We arrived at the Philadelphia Liberty Casino Resort, where my hotel room had a perfectly good balcony with a sliding glass door that was now sealed for my security and protection. In other words, liberty from freedom. There was also no freedom from classic rock or televised sports anywhere in the building, so I went for a walk in a land with no sidewalks. I had to walk in the median of a highway, under the bridge of another highway, and then I was hiking in the Valley Forge National Park, wondering if the Continental Army of George Washington had only waited a couple centuries. They could have had the freedom to walk across the road and stay at the casino resort, in which case they may have chosen to stay in the relative freedom of the hunger winter. I arrived at the airport again to return home, and all the TV screens greeted me with images of a plane crash in Taiwan. It was CNN's way of saying, have a nice flight back to wherever you came from. And the taxi driver on the whole way back didn't say a word. I tipped him $10.
People of Europe, rejoice! Greece is staying. I repeat, Greece is staying. The country that is the birthplace of people who claim that their country is the birthplace of democracy and philosophy is not leaving the EU. Yes, and that's actually quite amazing, come to think of it. I mean, all of modern, contemporary Greek philosophy and democracy can be summed up by the sentence, do you know where you can stick your austerity? Yes, Greece has finally wrenched a tiny bit of leeway from the EU, and it has softened the conditions for the loan renewal. And that's amazing, given the fact that the EU had such strong, solid arguments for the austerity plan as it is right now. For one, a deal is a deal. It's a deal, you cannot go back on the deal. Two, look at how this austerity plan has strengthened the Greek economy and how it has, well, the jobs, there's lots of just, well, a deal is a deal, okay? You don't go back on a deal, yes. Although, to be fair, the deal between the EU and Greece isn't exactly a deal. I mean, a deal means that two mutual, equal parties come together and create some sort of understanding. The EU is a bit like a creepy, confused old guy who first locks up an Austrian girl in his basement for 8 years, and then on a day when she finally escapes, stands on the front lawn, watching her sprint to the end of the street and yells, "But we had a deal! I thought we had a real Anschluss." No, the EU should have seen this coming. They should have. I mean, if there's two things that European citizens everywhere dislike, it's one, the idea that Brussels dictates your every move, and two, budget cuts. Combine the two and you get a very potent mix, and you can just, well, sit back and wait for a butter mountain of shit hitting an Acropolis-sized fan. Now, all of this renegotiation is done under the leadership of the new Greek finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, who, in my opinion, is 50 shades of epic. Yes, he's being accused of being extravagant or a little vain, but I think that's just because he's surrounded by European finance ministers, who arguably are the blandest people on the continent. I mean, these guys are so very boring. My dentist doesn't use anesthesia, he just has a big group picture of them suspended above the dentist's chair. European finance ministers are so sexy, though they're as sexy as a USB memory stick shaped as a USB memory stick. Yeah. Now, the brilliance of the strategy of Yanis Varoufakis is that he is exploiting the weakness in European agreements. In the end, they're never enforceable. No. In the end, if you just keep on saying, screw you guys, no one is going to send an army over to your country to set things straight. Varoufakis himself has said, our whole strategy is that there is no plan B. Again, something the EU might have seen coming from a country where people randomly break plates after dinner. They don't care if things go kaput. You should have seen this coming, right? And besides, what could we do? I mean, we could send a bailiff over there to get our stuff back, but yeah, what is there to take back? Right? Denmark is already producing all the feta we need, and all of Greece's valuable historical artifacts are in Great Britain. This is Edo Berger, signing off and wishing you a wonderful day in Europe.
Let's go now to our guest for today, Boris Veldhuizen van Zanten. Am I saying that nearly right?
Well, you missed my 4 first names, but that's okay.
Okay. Oh, speaking of, I have 6 questions for you now, for people who don't know you as well. 6 and 60.
I'm ready.
60 seconds. Here we go. What's your middle name?
Boris. So my first name is Boris, then Theodorik Krelis Victorson.
You're not kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Wow. Okay. So
it's
you're
great
like
when you get a speeding ticket because you got to spell it all out. And they are more annoyed at the end of it than I am.
Brilliant. Did you have pets as a kid?
I did. Yeah, pigeons.
Pigeons.
Yeah, like 20 or 30 at a time.
He's getting more interesting by the moment, isn't it? Okay. Brothers and sisters?
Sister.
Okay. Older or younger?
Older.
Older, got it. Okay. What is the movie that you've watched the most times?
Oh, the Blues Brothers.
Oh, nice.
Like 200 times.
Oh my God. Okay, it's dark and we're wearing sunglasses. What is an app that you have recently deleted?
Oh, I delete many apps all the time.
Got it. So well, that works. And how about an underrated tech? Anything underrated tech? Something that you've been championing lately?
Right. I love TripIt. It's a service that organizes your travel, and it's really amazing.
TripIt.
TripIt.
TripIt. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, TripIt.com.
Got it.
It's an old service, but it works magically.
Okay.
You get the ticket from the airline, forward to them. They make an itinerary, and it's beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's a plug for TripIt. But let's get a plug for your own. The Next Web.
Yeah.
The Next Web started how? 10 years ago or so, and it's just blossomed, right?
Yeah. It's a happy accident. We had a startup. We wanted it to launch at a conference, but we couldn't afford to sponsor one. And we said, hey, how hard can it be? Let's organize our own event. Yeah. It's harder than you think. But we had our first event 3 months later, which is too short to organize an event. I learned all this now in 10 years. Yeah. And then by the time we had the event, we weren't ready to launch a startup yet. So this is all like failure stacked on failure. But the event itself was great fun. People loved it. And I said, well, I'm sure you have to organize another one next year. And we did, and the rest is history.
Okay.
Now 10 editions.
Well, I'll get back to some more specifics in a moment. But, they also talk about tech stuff at TEDx, for example. And I think we have a clip from our producer, Jeremy. I wanted to share this little clip just as a sort of jumping off point.
Today's internet is really a fortuitous accident. It's a combination of an initial lack of commercial interests, of government benign neglect, of some military requirements for survivability and resilience, and a bunch of computer engineers building open systems that work simply and easily. We're at the beginning of some critical debates about the future of the internet. Law enforcement, surveillance, corporate data collection, cyber war, information consumerism, and on and on and on. This is not going to be an easy period as we try to work this out. I mean, historically, no shift in power has ever been easy. Corporations have turned the internet into an enormous revenue generator, and they're not going to back down. Right? Neither will governments who have harnessed the internet for control. And these are all very complicated political and technological issues. But we all have a duty to tackle this problem. I don't know what the result is going to be, but I hope that when generations from now, society looks back on us in these early decades of the internet, they're not going to be disappointed. And this is only going to happen if each one of us engages, makes us a priority, and participates in the debate. We need to decide on the proper balance between institutional and distributed power. and how to build tools that amplify what is good in each while suppressing what is bad. Thank you.
Bruce Schneider from TEDx in Cambridge. Well, hopefully, he brought up a whole lot of points there. How many of those sound recognizable for you as
all of them, yeah. So, you know, the incredibly interesting thing about working in technology is that development speed up, right? As new possibilities are added, new technologies are invented, you see more new possibilities by combining stuff. So what we see is that the next 10 years are going to be more exciting than the past 10 years. Which is very difficult for people to grasp, right? They think,
well, the whole pace of change is already pretty quick, but you're saying the pace is going to speed up even more?
It's going to speed up even more, yeah. So I joked, like, you know, in 4 years, they're going to be a startup. They're going to launch on Friday. They're going to reach 100 million users on Saturday. And they're going to be acquired for $1 billion on Monday.
Right.
That's the speed of things we're seeing now. And that sounds very unrealistic. But there was a startup like a year ago, and before they launched, they sold for 100 million. Right. Then there's WhatsApp. They you know, that was a year and a half, and then they sold, or that was Instagram, for 16 billion.
Yeah, with the incredible sums, which sounds like a bubble economy. Let's be honest. Is there a point where the bubble's going to burst?
No, I don't think there's a bubble. No. So here's the interesting thing. When Facebook bought WhatsApp, WhatsApp never made, you know, $1. No. And they were sold for 16 billion. So people ask me, like, that's a bubble, right? Because this is not sustainable. They're not making money, and then it's not a business. But the answer is that what Facebook bought was not a business. They have a business. It works great. Facebook's problem is staying relevant, right? Facebook is the hottest bar in town. Well, we'll go there because it's the hottest bar in town. Right. But when we see that our friends are going somewhere else, we'll go there. And our friends were going to WhatsApp. Right. So what Facebook buys is relevancy. Okay. And they can afford it because they've got 40 billion in the bank. Right. So what they bought was relevancy, and that's a good buy. Really? So
you think it was okay?
Yeah. So WhatsApp is not a business in the sense that it will generate money. No, it's a tool that's relevant and has value for Facebook.
Well, let's talk about the internet and the bright, shiny internet of the future, which might provide more jobs, opportunities, startups, and all that good stuff. But what's the significance of a player like the Kaspersky Lab, Anonymous, the hackers, and for that matter, even the International Consortium of investigative journalists who are responsible for Lux leaks, HSBC leaks, and governments, you know, even our freedom-loving Western governments might try to crack down. That's really disruptive, I would say. Does the Next Web have an opinion on the
Well, you asked me 3 questions
side?
in one.
I did indeed.
You did. So I'm an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs are optimistic, so I'm very optimistic, right? I think hackers are a huge problem, and it's getting worse. And usually, you know, you need a few major incidents, before people open up their eyes and say, okay, this is actually something I got to spend time on.
Cybersecurity and
so in a way, I'm happy that these things come out, and we have companies researching this and sort of waving a flag and saying, hey, you know, this is happening. You got to pay attention. And even at our company, right? The first few years, we didn't think about security. We didn't. You know, everybody's password was just like password, right? Something simple. And then you grow a little bit bigger, and suddenly, you see one incident, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, this could affect me. And now it's become routine at the company to think about these things.
So, at least one person has to deal with encryption and security.
The thing where I sort of get defensive is where people start, you know, fear mongering. And they say, oh, everything is going to shit because this is happening. We're like, no. It's very important, right? It's important to know the risks. It's like when you buy a cheap airplane ticket. You know, it's maybe smart to wonder why it's cheap.
Exactly.
If it's, right, what's the risk of taking this plane versus that one? You shouldn't stop flying because sometimes a plane crashes, right? Because it's a risk reward.
And there are people out there saying, there's another plane crash. Even when I was on the plane, and there were images of plane crashing in Taiwan.
That's hilarious.
I said to the woman, like, how is this making me comfortable getting on the plane? And she said, like, but that only happens once in a while. Then again, and she was thinking out loud, it's happening more often. Like, what? Are we, you know, entering this sort of dystopia where everybody knows too much about everybody else and there's no privacy anymore? Or is there a bright, shiny future where we'll all be millionaires?
Yeah. So a few years ago, there was I spoke to a politician, and there was a Dutch like a right extreme party gaining momentum and getting more power. And I told him, like, if they're gonna come into power, I gotta move, right? Because this is awful.
Yeah.
And he said, no, democracy has a sort of self-cleaning mechanism, but every now and then you have to make a swing. It'll
sure. The
go
pendulum
to
must
extremes,
swing.
and it'll swing back. So it'll be a right.
Okay.
I think it's the same with these fears, right? Things will happen where you go like, oh my God, that's too much. And that refines where we want to be. Right? Okay. So I spoke to a girl yesterday whose like naked pictures were shared online. Everybody saw them, and it destroyed her life. And now she's an activist fighting against it.
Really? Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Because she's doing
there's a name for that, and I can't think of it. What is it?
Porn shaming, porn revenge porn.
Revenge porn. Yes.
So this is a very valid discussion.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think the answer is, well, we should restrict freedom or something.
Right.
This is just a very shitty thing that some people do.
And yet such a bad example that everyone can agree, okay, we don't want that.
You don't want that, no. And it's going to take a while, right? I remember the first time I went online, the first search engine, probably the first word I typed in was sex. Right? Because that's what you do when you're 14 and you get online. So, and then you do that for a few times, and then suddenly you're like, okay, there's too much of this.
Yeah.
Right, and then sort of you lose interest.
Yeah. Well,
so
really?
This is
well, you're the one.
Well, are we still there? Yeah. Anyway, because I got some stuff here.
Yeah, right.
No, but so I think these things work like this, right? You get all this freedom, and you take full advantage of it. And then at one point you sort of back out a little.
Again, another
like,
uniquely Dutch thing. Let your kids smoke all they want, take all the pills they want, drink all they want, watch all the porn they want, and then eventually, indeed, a lot of them say, like, wouldn't want to do that every day.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's the same with the internet. Go do whatever you want.
Right.
And we have some problems then in the beginning, but it'll work out.
Nice.
But don't ask me, because I'm the optimist. Right?
Yeah. Well, again, if we want to know more about the Next Web, where do we go?
thenextweb.com.
Exactly.
And book a ticket. See you in April.
Okay. And April 22nd, 23rd?
24th.
23rd, 24th, coming up in Amsterdam. Thank you, Boris, from the Next Web. I'll follow you on
Twitter.
Yes, exactly. And if you want to follow us, again, hashtag GSUSE. Thanks to Boris from the Next Web, and thanks to Broadcast Amsterdam, as well as Salto for making this all possible. I'm Greg Shapiro.